It was supposed to be their triumphant return to Hollywood. The red carpet was rolled out, the cameras were flashing, and the designer outfits were perfectly tailored. But behind the frozen smiles and practiced waves at the Sundance Film Festival, a disaster of epic proportions was unfolding, one that has finally exposed the brutal truth about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's status in the industry. We're talking about empty theaters, furious organizations, and a humiliation so public that legendary biographer Tom Bower is calling it the final nail in the coffin. For years, we've heard the rumors that the Sussex brand was failing. But what happened this week in Utah wasn't just a failure, it was a catastrophe. From allegedly lying about their involvement in a project to promoting a film they seemingly didn't even watch, the details emerging from Sundance are shocking. And if you think you already know the story, trust me, you haven't heard the worst part yet. What happened inside that theater has the entire film industry whispering that the Sussex touch has officially become the kiss of death. Let's start with the moment that shattered the illusion. When you think of the Sundance Film Festival, you imagine lines wrapping around city blocks. You picture desperate movie buffs waiting for hours in the snow just for a chance at a standby ticket. It's the most prestigious film festival in the United States, and screenings usually sell out in seconds. So when Prince Harry and Meghan Markle arrived to premiere their new documentary, Cookie Queens, they were expecting a standing room-only crowd. They expected adoration. Instead, they walked into a ghost town. Tom Bower, the investigative author who has been tracking the couple's moves for years, dropped a bombshell report that changes everything. According to multiple sources who were actually inside the venue when the lights went down, there were approximately 150 empty seats. Let that sink in for a moment. At a festival where tickets are considered gold dust, people literally chose not to show up for a Sussex production. The situation was so embarrassing that festival staff reportedly went into panic mode. Witnesses described ushers frantically herding random attendees and staffers into the theater just to make the room look less barren. But even with that desperate attempt to fill the void, there were still 60 to 70 empty seats by the time the film began. The Sussex squad on social media tried to claim the screening was sold out, posting tight shots of the front rows. But the reality was undeniable. Industry insiders who were present saw the truth with their own eyes. This wasn't a premiere, it was a rejection. And the humiliation was only just beginning, because how Prince Harry and Meghan Markle ended up on that stage in the first place is a story all on its own. You might be wondering, how did Prince Harry and Meghan Markle even produce a documentary about the Girl Scouts? The short answer is they didn't. This is where the story slips into the murky waters of Hollywood pay-to-play. It has been confirmed that there are a staggering 24 executive producers listed on the film. That's not a production team, that's a crowded elevator. Rob Shooter, along with other industry analysts, has confirmed that the Sussexes were the very last two names added to the list, coming on board in late December 2024. By that point, the film was already finished. It was in the can, as they say. They didn't hire the crew. They didn't conduct the interviews. They certainly didn't sit in the editing room. They simply bought their way onto a completed project, slapped the Archwell logo onto the credits, and showed up expecting applause. But their behavior at the festival suggests they believed they were the main attraction. At prestigious festivals like Sundance, there is a strict protocol. The director is king. The director always speaks first. It is their art, their vision. But Meghan Markle reportedly broke this fundamental rule. She needed her moment. According to eyewitnesses, she walked onto the stage as if she had just won an Academy Award, delivering a long-winded speech and thanking her own staff, while the actual filmmakers stood awkwardly in the background. She attempted to steal the spotlight, but instead, she illuminated her own ignorance about the very film she was supposed to be promoting. This is where the situation shifted from embarrassing to genuinely damaging. During her speech, Meghan Markle gushed about the documentary. She called it adorable. She described it as one of the most powerful and meaningful depictions of an American tradition. She spoke at length about empowerment and the beauty of the Girl Scout organization. There was just one massive problem with her glowing review. It completely contradicted the film the audience was about to see. Tom Bower spoke with multiple attendees who left the theater convinced of one thing: Meghan Markle had not watched the documentary. The disconnect was so obvious, it was painful. While Meghan was selling a story of wholesome tradition and female empowerment, the film itself is a dark exposé. It reveals a cutthroat world where parents, not children, do the heavy lifting. It shows families going into debt, purchasing thousands of dollars worth of cookies up front, and using manipulative sales tactics to unload them. One festival goer put it bluntly, they literally cannot help themselves. They always step in it. Imagine standing on a stage praising the wholesome values of an organization while the screen behind you plays footage of children being coached to guilt-trip strangers into buying cookies. It was clear she didn't care about the content, only the photo opportunity. And in her desperate attempt to sound relatable, she was caught in yet another lie. One so petty it's almost unbelievable. Meghan Markle has a habit of weaving her personal history into every narrative, and this was no exception. On stage, she reminisced about her own time as a Girl Scout, attempting to bond with the audience over the shared struggle of selling cookies. It sounded like a sweet, personal anecdote. Once again, though, the facts don't align with the fiction. Tom Bower's reporting revealed that Meghan Markle was never actually a Girl Scout. She was a brownie. To outsiders, that might sound like a distinction without a difference, but it matters. Brownies are the youngest group, typically ages 5 to 7, and crucially, brownies do not sell cookies. That is not part of their program. Another detail glossed over. Another story exposed. So when Meghan Markle stood there talking about her cookie-selling experience, she was fabricating a memory to fit the moment. It was lie number 5 million. As one critic noted, she seemingly cannot speak without embellishing, even about something as trivial as childhood snacks. But while this lie may be irritating, the content of the film she endorsed is actually dangerous to her carefully curated image as a humanitarian. Let's take a closer look at what Cookie Queens actually exposes, because it's shocking that two people who present themselves as champions of children would attach their names to it. The documentary peels back the curtain on a system many are now calling exploitative. It shows that the door-to-door tradition most people remember is effectively dead. In its place is a model that favors the wealthy and well-connected. The film features stories of families struggling to pay up front for inventory, sometimes thousands of dollars, just so their daughters can compete for prizes or earn a chance at camp. It highlights how affluent parents can simply buy their children's badges. But it gets darker. The documentary reportedly captures moments where children are coached to leverage sympathy. One reviewer noted that the girls were taught that cuteness sells and were even encouraged to play up poverty or disabilities to move more units. This is what Meghan Markle described as inspiring. She stood on that stage and praised a film that depicts children being used as sales props for a massive corporation. The irony is staggering. The couple who fled the UK claiming they wanted to protect their own children from public scrutiny are now executive producing a film that capitalizes on the commercialization of other people's children. And the backlash from the actual organization involved has been swift and furious. If Meghan Markle thought this documentary would make her the darling of the Girl Scouts of America, she was dead wrong. Insider sources report that the organization is absolutely livid. They feel blindsided. They did not ask for this documentary, and they certainly did not ask for the so-called royal seal of approval that has now dragged them into a global controversy. In fact, the relationship is so toxic that a disclaimer appears in the fine print at the beginning of the film stating that the Girl Scouts organization had no involvement in the production. They have distanced themselves completely. Yet there was Meghan Markle, acting like a global ambassador, drawing attention to a film that makes the organization look predatory. It's a classic case of the Sussexes failing to do their homework. They saw a brand named Girl Scouts and assumed it would be a safe, wholesome vehicle to rehabilitate their image. They viewed it as a way to one-up Princess Catherine, the patron of the Girl Guides in the UK. Meghan Markle clearly wanted to present herself as the American equivalent. Instead, she accidentally endorsed a takedown piece and alienated the very organization she was trying to align with. But the fallout isn't just political. It's financial, and it's hitting them where it hurts most. We need to talk about the business side of this, because that's where the real panic is setting in. For 2 years, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry have been claiming they're building a media empire. They've repeatedly pointed to their massive Netflix deal as proof. So the obvious question is this: why was this film at Sundance at all? If Netflix wanted this documentary, it would already be on Netflix. The streaming giant holds the right of first refusal on their projects. The fact that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle had to fly to Utah to shop this film around tells you everything you need to know. Netflix passed. They took one look at Cookie Queens and said, "No thanks." And it's not just this film. The timing of this disaster coincides with news that Netflix has officially canceled Meghan Markle's animated series with Love, Meghan, after just 1 season. They didn't quietly let it fade away, they announced it. The industry is sending a very clear message. The Sussex names are no longer an asset. They're a liability. The filmmakers behind Cookie Queens are reportedly already regretting the partnership, realizing that the controversy Prince Harry and Meghan Markle bring is overshadowing the actual work. Instead of sparking a distribution bidding war, the film is now sitting without buyers. Finally, we have to address the optics of the entire week. Just days before appearing on the red carpet, Prince Harry was in a London courtroom. He was emotional, claiming the media had made his life a misery. He spoke about trauma, intrusive cameras, and his desperate need for privacy. He portrayed himself as a victim of the spotlight. And then, less than 168 hours later, he boarded a plane to Sundance, walked a red carpet, and practically begged photographers to take his picture. He smiled, waved, and actively sought the very attention he claimed was destroying him. The hypocrisy is so blatant that even their shrinking base of supporters is struggling to defend it. You cannot sue the media for looking at you on Tuesday and then invite them to look at you on Friday. It validates everything Prince William has supposedly said behind closed doors, that they want the privileges of celebrity without the responsibilities of royalty. This Sundance disaster proves that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle simply cannot function in the real world of entertainment. They lack the instincts. They don't do the work. And they don't understand the industry. To see just how superficial this entire endeavor was, we need to zoom in on one specific moment during the Q&A. You'd think that if you were producing a documentary about cookies, you'd have a favorite cookie, right? It's the easiest, softest softball question imaginable, meant to create a human, relatable moment. But when a reporter from Variety asked Meghan Markle to name her favorite Girl Scout cookie, she couldn't do it. Instead of saying Thin Mints or Samoas like a normal person, she launched into what witnesses described as a meaningless word salad. She deflected, offering a vague, winding comment about how everyone has their own favorite and rambling about layers of complexity. It was a masterclass in saying absolutely nothing. Why couldn't she answer? Because answering a direct question boxes her in. It requires authenticity. It requires having actually engaged with the product and the culture she was promoting. By refusing to name a favorite, she once again proved that everything is a performance. She appeared terrified that picking the wrong cookie might alienate a demographic or seem off-brand. That paralyzing need to be perfect is exactly what makes her come across as so robotic. She stood there claiming to love the tradition, yet couldn't participate in the most basic conversation about it. It wasn't just awkward. It was revealing. It showed how completely out of touch she is with the very audience she's trying to charm. But if the cookie controversy feels petty, the political firestorm Prince Harry ignited during this same trip is far more serious. While they were busy failing to fill seats at a movie theater, reports emerged that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle had publicly rebuked Donald Trump. Regardless of where you fall politically, from a strategic standpoint, this is what experts are calling a suicide mission. Prince Harry is in the United States on a visa. He is a guest. And he is already on thin ice regarding his immigration status due to his admission of illegal substance use in his book Spare. For a foreign prince to enter the United States and openly attack a former, and potentially future, president is a breach of diplomatic protocol that is virtually unheard of. King Charles III and Prince William are reportedly furious. The British monarchy survives by remaining politically neutral, especially when it comes to the internal politics of its closest ally. By dragging his royal title into an American political feud, Prince Harry isn't just risking his reputation, he's risking his residency. Serious conversations are now reportedly taking place about whether he could be forced to leave the country. He's playing a high-stakes game with his own future, all while trying to present himself as a Hollywood producer. It reflects a lack of impulse control that is alarming to his family in London and deeply toxic to potential business partners in Los Angeles. After all, who wants to hire someone who might be deported for running his mouth? That toxicity is bleeding into their social lives as well. The transcript references a telling moment that signals the end of their A-list access: Meghan Markle's appearance at Kevin Costner's party for emergency workers. This wasn't a red carpet she was invited to walk, it was an event she reportedly simply showed up at. Industry insiders have noticed a pattern. They're no longer invited to the Oscars or the Met Gala. Instead, they crash charity events or buy their way into festivals like Sundance just to feel relevant. They are no longer treated as peers by the Hollywood elite. They're treated as nuisances. When Meghan Markle grabbed the microphone at Kevin Costner's event, or when she insisted on speaking before the director at Sundance, it wasn't confidence, it was desperation. The Hollywood royalty dream is over. Real royalty doesn't have to push past ushers to fill seats. Real royalty doesn't have to attach its name to a finished film just to secure credentials. What we're witnessing now is a transition from celebrity icons to social parasites. They're the guests everyone is polite to in person, but rolls their eyes about the moment they leave the room. And finally, we have to look at the math. The lifestyle Prince Harry and Meghan Markle maintain is extraordinarily expensive. We're talking private security, private jets, PR firms, and massive legal bills tied to Harry's never-ending court cases. That machine requires millions of dollars a year just to keep running. With the Spotify deal gone and the Netflix future increasingly uncertain, the financial pressure is no longer theoretical, it's real. With Meghan Markle's animated series cancelled and this new documentary failing to find a buyer, the obvious question is, where is the money coming from? As one commentator in the report bluntly noted, Meghan Markle no longer has a real income stream. She's finished. They're burning through cash with nothing substantial coming in to replace it. That desperation explains why Prince Harry and Meghan Markle were at Sundance, trying to hawk a documentary about cookies. They need a win. They need a check. But because they refuse to do the actual work, refusing to create original content, refusing to follow protocol, refusing to be humble, they're left chasing ever-shrinking opportunities. The financial abyss is staring them straight in the face, and 2026 may be the year they finally fall into it. They traded the priceless dignity of the crown for a paycheck that isn't even coming. As we survey the wreckage of the Cookie Queen's premiere, one thing is clear: 2026 is shaping up to be the year the industry finally turns its back on the Sussexes. Tom Bower's revelations about the empty seats and the manufactured producer credits have stripped away the PR spin and exposed the reality. They aren't power players. They're driftwood clinging to whatever floats by, hoping it will keep them relevant. But with Netflix pulling the plug and the film industry openly laughing at empty theaters, the real question isn't what their next project will be. It's whether there will be a next project at all. If they can't sell a movie about Girl Scout cookies, what can they sell? Now I want to hear from you. Do you think this is finally the end of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's Hollywood ambitions, or will they somehow find another way to reinvent themselves? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure you're subscribed, because if this is how January started, the rest of the year is going to be wild.